If there is a pandemic or a catastrophe with the weather, the rules can be changed.
You were so desperate to win, weren't you?
Every politician who is looking for a success is desperate to win, yes.
The EU Commission says the new law undermines the judicial independence of Polish judges.
This is double standards. I can bet that President Duda will be re-elected.
Despite the coronavirus pandemic, Poland's government pushed hard for a presidential election this month in the expectation that it would win, but the opposition forced a last-minute delay. My guest this week from Poland is Dominik Tarczynski, Polish MEP from the ruling Law and Justice Party. Was his government guilty of trying to put politics ahead of people's lives? Dominik Tarczynski, welcome to Conflict Zone.
Thank you for having me.
Let's go back to the beginning of this month when your party was still hoping to hold a presidential election. Donald Tusk, former Prime Minister of Poland, said that only a madman or a criminal would proceed with an election during an international health crisis. But you didn't care about the risks to people, did you? You expected to win, and that was all that mattered.
Are you trying to say that Donald Tusk called people from Germany, Bavaria, and from Switzerland and from Southern Korea a mad people? Because these are the places where elections took place. Maybe he's calling Americans a mad people, as they are having their primaries now. So we resign from this idea of elections at the moment, but the language Donald Tusk is using is unacceptable.
Well, you didn't exactly get the support of the National Electoral Commission, did you? Poland's Commissioner for Human Rights.
I'm not surprised.
Not surprised, but you didn't get it. The European Parliament,
not at all.
The Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe, they all told you to postpone and all were ignored. Some 50 countries around the world have postponed during the pandemic.
And this is what we decided. That's number one. But the question is, why Donald Tusk is asking for postponing elections? Because their candidate, ex-candidate, it's already changed. She was having a 5% of support when our president and our candidate at the moment is having 63. So I'm not surprised that they are running away. They are just a political cowards, and they trying to escape from this catastrophe which is just in front of them.
The fact is, though, you were prepared to take a risk right through March, April and into May itself with the health of your people. You were so desperate to win, weren't you?
Every politician who cares about his country, every politician who is looking for a success is desperate to win. Yes, we are desperate to win, but we are not desperate to hold the elections for any price. That's why this is passed, and we changed our mind. We are just observing the whole situation, and that's why the elections did not take place. So this is what the opposition was asking for, isn't it?
It was a big risk because under your party's rule, Poland's health service is hardly the envy of the EU, is it?
But these elections did not take place. So I'm surprised we are discussing the past and the facts which did not take place.
Right up until the last moment, you were prepared to take that gamble. That's my point. Your health service, luckily, wasn't strained, but it's not in the best of states, is it, in Poland?
Well, it's not a gamble, it's constitution. If constitution is very clear about our responsibility for the country, we have to deal with the situation, and this is what our government is doing. No one was ready for this kind of pandemic. I can't really remember from the history that this kind of pandemic as this Chinese virus took place ever. So this is unusual, and we have to find ourselves in this situation and be responsible for the constitution and for the country. That's why, first of all, our term was changed, and now the elections probably will take place in beginning of July, maybe.
You talked about the Constitution, but you tried in the last moments of April and May to hold a postal vote. The Constitution says changes can't be made to the electoral law less than 6 months before an election, can they? So you were quite happy to ignore what the Constitution said?
No, not the Constitution, but the Tribunal Court was very clear about the changes, and it's very clear with one of the points that in pandemic times, it's very clear in Polish law, the changes can be made just before the election. This is what we found out. Our government had to deal with the pandemic. So if there is a pandemic or a catastrophe with the weather, the rules can be changed. We haven't changed it, even though it's allowed.
You also had some warning shots fired at you by the Catholic Church that your party always claims to revere. The bishops warned about possible violations of the constitutional order and the need to preserve the principles of free and fair elections. That's just about as close as the Church comes to issuing a formal rebuke to a ruling political party, isn't it?
The funny thing is that when we are trying to talk about abortion, which is killing the babies, the church is criticized by mainly media. When church is taking a voice about the elections, which is catastrophe for the opposition, then the church is the one who should be mentioned. We are sovereign government. We are Catholics. We hear all the voices and we listen to the people, also to the bishops. But it's us, our Prime Minister and our President, who are making decisions.
When the bishops drew attention to the need for free and fair elections, perhaps they were also referring to the huge sums of public money that your government dropped into the coffers of the state media, which have more or less become your party's own PR agency, haven't they? That certainly concerned plenty of people.
I am the best example of people from the public media. I used to work in the media. I used to be director. We've got 16 branches of national television in Poland. I was in charge of one of them, and I was fired by previous government just because I was conservative. I wasn't a member of any political party, and they just sacked me. They threw me away just 10 days after they took power. So if you're asking about the PR agency and the political tools in the media, I am the living example how the previous government was treating people. You wouldn't be happy if someone would treat you in this way, believe me.
Well, let's stay with the present government, because in January, the president, who's from your party, signed a bill giving more than $500 million to fund radio and television outlets that have been giving him hugely supportive coverage during his campaign for re-election. How fair is that?
It's not about president. It's not about one political party. It's about our mission. I know what the mission is in the public media. How many public state televisions is in Germany? We've got only one. And this is nothing unusual that government is paying for the public media. That's how it was, that's how it is, and that's how it's going to be in the future.
The state media is supposed to be neutral, and you gave them a blatant injection of public cash because they were helping your campaign, your election campaign.
But the public cash, public money, is part of the budget of the government, and the public media are financed by the budget since day one, since 1990 or even before that. It's nothing unusual, nothing new, and this is the money which is paid every single year. I can't see the controversy in here. That's our duty as a government to pay for the public services like health, media, or anything else.
So the public money is supposed to fund a public media that is doing your bidding and providing support for your views.
It's not true.
What happened to the neutrality? Well, Reporters Without Borders called Poland's public media government propaganda mouthpieces. Propaganda mouthpieces that tolerate neither opposition nor neutrality from employees and fire those who refuse to comply.
It's
That bears
all
a striking
fake
resemblance
news.
to the old
It's all
broadcasting
fake
networks that
news.
operated
That's what
under
it is.
communism.
All these organizations, international organizations, which are attacking Poland, Hungary, United States, Mr. Trump, they are using their position for the political goals. And I know it's just political. I can't really see the reason to even comment these attacks on Hungary, Poland, and Mr. Trump mainly at the moment. It's just not true.
Let's talk about the courts, because Freedom House said you were trying to convert the judiciary into a pliant political tool. But you don't like talking about that now.
So we did it or we tried it?
You're trying to do it. You're trying to. The European Commission has launched
trying
yet
to
another
do it.
infringement procedure against your government for your latest attempt to put the judges under political control, hasn't it?
We are having drunk driving judges. We are having judges from the martial law times. And we have many of those which you don't have from the communist times, because most of the countries did not suffer as we did. So we have to clean it up, to be straight. This is what we promised. This is our government was elected. And I don't see the reason we should resign from that. And obviously, whatever we would try to do, they would attack us, saying that this is political decision. But you have to remember that one day our party will lose the election and judges, courts will stay. So another party will be happy to have political courts. It's just not true.
Well, the latest move by the European Commission follows the passing of what the opposition calls your muzzle law, which can be used to fine or even sack judges who question the government's legal reforms. Isn't it incredible? You put your judges on a lead and you tell them when they can speak and when they can't.
I am a member of the European Parliament. Can I be put in jail? Can I be charged? Yes, I can. I can lose my immunity. And then the prosecutor can charge me with whatever, if I'm drunk driving or stealing something. Do you know that judges in Poland up till now cannot be charged for whatever they do? If they drunk driving, stealing, and we've got videos of the judges who are stealing money in the shop, he couldn't be charged. Do you think it's okay? When we are talking about the balance of powers, three powers, why they should be above law, above the politicians? It's just not right.
You want all those powers, don't you? Executive, legislative, judicial, you want them all in your hands. And the EU Commission says your new law, the muzzle law we were talking about...
Is this a question or is this what you think?
They say, the EU Commission says the new law undermines the judicial independence of Polish judges. It's not just their view, it's the Venice Commission, NGOs, human rights groups, the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. Are they all wrong? Have they all misunderstood Poland? Poor Poland?
Yes. They are all wrong. That's correct. Yes, that's what I think. They're not wrong. Mainly, this is political debate. This is not about the rule of law. This is not about the constitution. This is about Hungary and Poland and Mr. Trump. This is what they do. This is double standards.
Well, we're just talking about the Polish one at the moment.
Double standards.
The outgoing president of your Supreme Court, Małgorzata Gersdorf, accused you of trying to accumulate excessive power. She said, for the last 5 years, all the power has been in the hands of the ruling party, who set the goal of destroying the independence of the court. And she said it was the judge's duty to speak out.
Małgorzata Gersdorf is the person who was taking a part of the protests, political protests of Polish opposition. They are not allowed to be active politically, and that was political activity. She was marching on the streets of Warsaw with a candle, happy to support Polish opposition. That was against the Polish law. That was political activity with a civic platform and the rest. Is this okay? Is this right? Do you think that that's how judges should be active? Do you?
She said it was the judge's duty to speak out. They took an oath to guard the law and the Constitution.
And our duty
Every judge vows this in their
is to
oath.
clean up the post-communist courts.
Really? That's it, to clean up the
Yes,
post-communist...
because when they are active politically, if they disagree with current government, they trying to call it a duty. When we are doing what Polish people expect, this is not democracy, unconstitutional, violation of the human rights, this and that. So they can call it duty when they are active politically, and we are breaking the law. Is that right? It's just silly. Everyone knows that this is about their seats, about politics, about power, and about money.
In the government white paper that you put out in 2018, giving the reasons for what you called reforms of the judiciary, you did say the judges had never accounted for their communist past, and that reason simply wasn't true, was it? Because 81% of members of the Supreme Court were replaced in 1990. Under the lustration laws in 1997, 42 judges and 21 family members of deceased
What
judges.
about 19% of those who left? What about these 19 post-communist judges who left, who are still judging?
And they were individually
a part
assessed.
of this.
As you well know, they were individually assessed. You said they did nothing about the communist past. I'm pointing out to you that they did.
What I'm trying to say, there is only one judge who can put you in jail. And if we have those who are a part of this communist machine, which was, as you know, communism was much worse than the fascists. It's just against our dignity as a nation. They shouldn't be there. Not even one. Not 19%. Not 10%. Not one. Not even one shouldn't be in the court. And we're going to clean up the courts. This is what we promised to the Polish people, and that's why our government was elected.
The truth is that the courts have just got in the way of what you wanted to do, wasn't it? In 2016, your party leader Jarosław Kaczynski.
It's not a fact. It's opinion.
No, he said in 2016. Changes to the Constitutional Court were necessary to ensure there were no legal blocks on government policies aimed at creating a fairer economy. No legal blocks on government policy. So basically, you want to rule without any legal checks and balances whatsoever, don't you? And you shut up the judges if they criticize.
No. Blocking is completely different than checks and balances, as you call it. It's completely different. We had cases when we tried to change the courts, and they were protesting against the law. So it's different when someone is locking up the doors of the public place like a court. That's what we had. And there's a difference when someone is trying to discuss it, debate it in a parliament. It's unacceptable. We are a free democratic country, and no one can rule the country if it's not elected. They want to be a politicians. They are unelected, but they want to rule the country. It's
People were protesting because they don't trust your government. That's why they were protesting.
Okay, so if people do not trust our government, watch my lips. Do you want to bet who's going to win next election, presidential and parliamentary? Can you see the polls now and the support we are having from around the country? I can bet that President Duda will be re-elected.
Let's look at some of the other measures that your government has been taking, not just against the courts, but you've been doing a lot of social engineering.
It's not against courts. It's against post-communist and communist judges. It's completely different. Not all judges, not the courts. Be specific.
Well, plenty of people in the rest of the world, plenty of organizations, respected organizations, don't buy that line, Mr. Tarczynski, as you well know.
But Polish people not buying, but supporting us. This is why our government was elected second time, and it's going to be elected third time. I'm 100% sure. So for me, the most important is what nation is what Polish people are saying, not organization mainly from Soros. I don't care about Soros. I care about Poles.
Let's look at the social engineering you've been trying to roll back LGBT rights in Poland in a pretty direct assault last year.
Not rights. It's not true again. It's not about LGBT rights. Everyone is equal in Poland. Everyone is free. This is a democratic country. It's about pushing, promoting, and using money for the organizations with the flags of the rainbow. They are making money on it. They want to get into the schools and the children. It's not about rights. They can do whatever. I don't care how they sleep, how they live. They are free. But when they are using public money, and this is what is happening now in Warsaw, it's just not right.
So when the pro-government newspaper Gazeta Polska distributed stickers to advertise LGBT-free zones in Poland, you're quite happy with that level of discrimination?
LGBT ideology, that's very important.
They said
LGBT-free
LGBT-free zones. That's what the stickers, which were distributed by Gazeta Polska, actually said. And the EU Commission condemned you out of hand for that kind of discrimination. You didn't speak out about it, did you?
So it's not true. It's about ideology, which is pushed by a very, very small group of the politicians who are trying to use LGBT, who are trying to say that we are racist, anti-Semitic, and all this and all that. We've been called names for so many years. Again, I don't care, and I'm trying to tell you and repeat it. Everyone in Poland is free. Come for a weekend. It's a beautiful country, safe country. You can come and see. We haven't had even one terrorist attack because our policy of the illegal migration. So this is what I'm trying to repeat it every single time. Poland is safe, clean, and beautiful. Come and see.
Safe for women? In 2016, your party toyed with the idea. Your party toyed with the idea of withdrawing from the Council of Europe Convention on Preventing and Combating Violence Against Women. Your reasons that the treaty endangered the family and promoted gender ideology. How exactly does cracking down on violence against women endanger the family?
It has nothing to do about it has nothing to do about women. It has nothing to do about violation. It's about declaration. I was the member of the Council of Europe. I was even in charge of the Polish delegation to the Council of Europe, and I had a chance twice to discuss it. It's not about women. It's about this thing. It's about the illegal migration and Sharia law. We had this discussion officially with a legal committee. And we were debating a Sharia law in Europe when no one is discussing European values in Saudi Arabia or any other Sharia law states. So we are trying to keep Europe, keep Poland great and Christian.
Well, you know, in 2017, your president simply instructed people not to implement the convention that was supposed to combat violence against women. He said regarding national laws on violence against women, those laws already in place in Poland are working and being enforced. That wasn't true, was it? That's simply not true. The figures don't bear that out. The law is not working.
First of all, do you have a data about the violence against women and men? Do you have a data?
Yes. Yes, your police data for 2017 cited over 92,000 cases of family violence in which women amounted to nearly 73% of the victims and men were the perpetrators in 92% of cases. So how could your party possibly claim that laws were in place working to protect women? They weren't. These are your figures, your police figures.
When we see what is going on in Malmo, in Sweden, when we see what's going on in London,
we're not talking about Malmo,
when we see what's going on
Poland.
in the suburb of Paris, when you see data from all these places around the European Union, you can tell that this law works in Poland.
How many dedicated shelters does Poland have for women and children who survive domestic violence? How many?
Hundreds, like everyone else in Europe.
One shelter, one 26-bed shelter in the whole of Poland.
It's not true.
It's not true.
I'm a Roman Catholic. I'm a Roman Catholic. I am a Roman Catholic, and I know how many shelters are organized by church itself, not by the government. It's hundreds of these places, and I've been there many times in many of them.
In 2016, the year after your party took power, your own Supreme Audit Office called services for survivors of violence insufficient and highlighted the scarcity of shelter spaces for them. That's your own Supreme Audit Office. Are they wrong too?
Do you think it's good that we are trying to improve the conditions? Do you think it's good?
Are you trying to improve the conditions? There's no evidence that you are. You're defunding women's rights groups, left, right and centre, who try to protect women. You've defunded half a dozen of them at least.
Of course. Of course, we are funding places which are helping. It's not about shelters only, but also psychologists and those who are helping to basically raise the kids. It's common sense, and it's obvious. Everyone knows that if there is anyone who needs help, this help will be given.
Dominik Tarczynski, thanks very much for being on Conflict Zone.
Thank you very much.